Welcome to Tone Building Part 2, where we have identified the vocal challenges, breathiness, chesty singing, particularly in our women, thin and throaty sounds, and ununified range. All vocal challenges, all of which affect the tone of our ensemble. There are three Italian terms that help us in working on tone development. First one is Passagio, second Appoggio, and third Chiaroscurro. The Passagio is the Italian term for the vocal register shift. The Appoggio is the sense of equilibrium between inhalation and exhalation, which provides us with our support. And chiaroscuro is the balance of light and dark. And in the case of singing, light and dark vocal production. Let's talk about the Passagio. Many of our tone quality issues are not rooted in our singers being unable to listen and match, but due to the fact that they are singing in the improper vocal register. So the Passagio issue becomes the primary role that we need to work on to work through this. When they sing out of tune much of the time, that is also a Passagio issue. It's not an issue of their ear, it's an issue where they have not made the register shift and tend to, most of the time, be singing in the wrong register, particularly with the alto, tenor, and bass singing in the lower register, the alto and bass singing in the lower register and not shifting up to the higher mechanism, and the tenor and soprano, in the tenor case, not learning to move in and out of the falsetto. Soprano, and I've run across this a lot, particularly recently, sopranos sharping and misaligning their vowels because they're singing actually in more of that flute register and are unable to mix that with the head register. So it causes some vowel blending issues and affects the tone of the ensemble. Looking at the second term, the Appoggio technique is the basically setting the body to where the sternum is raised and the ribs are expanded, and then that expansion is maintained from the beginning of the phrase through the middle of the phrase and all the way to the end of the phrase without collapsing. When we speak, we typically collapse rapidly, but when we're singing, we maintain the equilibrium, delay the raising of the diaphragm, which gives us our support, and a supported tone will have a more positive tone quality. Some things to help with the Appoggio technique: stretching the startle breath, sipping through the straw, and we'll work on these in class, hissing and hissing for lengths of time, hissing with a crescendo, hissing with a decrescendo, and expanding sideways. Also, part of the Appoggio technique is also maintaining the muscle balance between the vocal folds and the respiration so that the onset of the tone does not occur before the breath has reached there. So it's not glottal with the vocal folds initiating before the breath is there. It's not breathy because the vocal folds have not been initiated in time and the breath has gotten through the mechanism out of balance, or just right when the vocal folds and the muscles of respiration are working in combination. So again, a lot of these hissing, sh, sh type sounds, 4 repeated quarter notes on hoo, 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 and the tone starts with the breath and the vocal cords initiating at the same time. Back to the Passagio issue, how often should one sing in head voice? I would recommend as often as possible for alto, tenor, and bass. Obviously, young sopranos need to be encouraged to sing in the head voice, but many sopranos, particularly if they've gotten into this almost straight tone, flute tone, they need to learn how to mix that upper register with their regular head voice. The more experienced singers are, the more they can explore, particularly with altos, the chest voice, but generally keep them out of the chest voice. That will become a problem as they try to sing up in their higher range. Another thing to help with this whole issue of the Passagio is to have them do sighing vocalization, to always top down, shaw, shaw, shaw type thing, sighing into the tone, and the Mrs. Doubtfire technique, where we sing up as if we were Mrs. Doubtfire. Vowel modification is part of the Passagio issue as well. If ladies modify their vowels to an ah on top, men will be more of an on top. So there's modification happening in the extreme ranges to allow for that Passagio to happen. There's also the Anton Armstrong rubber band exercise where the jaw is hinged like a rubber band. And in fact, he uses literally uses a rubber band that students pull on to work through their Passagio modification and their vowel modification. The Chiaroscurro is the light-dark balance in our tone. So not too bright, not too dark, but a balanced resonance. And many times our young singers get stuck into too dark of a resonance or too bright of a resonance, and it's a matter of finding the correct balance on that. Vowel matching helps with this. If you are working on getting the dark tone brighter, you can use the tongue vowels, I, ah, where if you are working to darken or warm up the tone in a bright singer, oh. So finding ways to balance what's going on in the placement of the voice. Remember, energy and beauty and placement, good singing tone must have all of these, but various pieces contain different ratios of these. Let's talk a little bit about energy. Everyone in the choir must be an extrovert. All faces must be open, and they need to be telling a story through their singing. Energy means sitting at the front of the chair, if you are sitting at all. I would recommend getting rid of the chairs. Face needs to be activated. Energy is about 90% of singing. Placement is about 5%, and beauty is about 5%. What I do as a conductor must also be energy. Being a wow person in front of your group and getting them outside of themselves when they sing and showing a positive, spirited demeanor as a conductor will get you much more of this energy segment. Remember, energy must be present in every word, every note, every syllable, and they must all be energized. Also, a reminder that there's no such thing as just practicing. Singers sing much better and are much more energized when they're performing. So find ways to make your rehearsal a performance. Have them stand, get rid of the musical score. It blocks the energy. High energy gets rid of dull tone and lazy diction. As Al Stewart from Purdue University used to say, sing the hell out of the loud notes and sing the hell out of the soft notes. Every note you sing should represent the best of your abilities. Make sure the melody has musical energy and direction. Sing weak beat to strong beat rather than only hitting the strong beats. Use that weak beat or the upbeat as a springboard, energizing. The anacrusis will give you a more positive, energized downbeat. And particularly in spirituals, finding the right tempo will also give you musical energy. If a piece is too fast, you can't feel the backbeat. So sometimes even slowing a piece down enough to feel the backbeat or the offbeat will actually add musical energy to your piece rather than simply taking it at a fast tempo that does not allow for the backbeat. On the subject of beauty, the second area of tone. When they don't sing with beauty, you need to react to this as a conductor. If you let them get by with tones that are not beautiful, that will become the norm in the room. And again, remember, there has to be a standard set for the room and for the rehearsal. Don't accept sounds that aren't good, and don't allow your singers to accept sounds that are not good. In the beauty category, encourage bel canto singing. This is singing with a light florid delivery, natural beauty, even tone, and effortless delivery. And of course, this will all go back to the Passagio, the Appoggio, and the Chiaroscurro. Remind them to add beauty to a long tone while holding it out, and then starting the tone beautifully before they even initiate it. As the line moves forward, think about the line moving horizontally and arching up rather than up and down, moving from pitch to pitch. And then a reminder to remember Tim Selig's concept of the beauty box, which is not singing louder than you sing beautifully, not singing softer than you sing beautifully, but finding the balance of dynamics and how they affect tone. Further in the beauty category, when sight reading music, encourage them to make music right away. It needs to be expressive right away, even on the first run through. There's no such thing as a rehearsal. Working on finding the shape of the phrase, finding the word stress to pieces, to text. Have them conduct the phrase. I've always found it interesting that the conductor gets to move when they sing, but the choir does not. So find ways to allow your choir to move, allowing the notes to blossom. Even if it's a physical movement, finding physical movements, drawing circles as they're singing, bending over on the high notes, tossing an imaginary frisbee, dunking a basketball into a basket to free up the tone and allow it to be beautiful. When it comes to placement, encourage your singers to sing through their eyes and have an active face. A blah face will not tune, a blah face will not have good tone, and a blah face certainly will not have placement. All singing takes place above the cheekbones. So think of the cone of tone, where the beauty of the tone then has placement, which gives it delivery. Work on getting the tone out of the throat. Imagery-wise, there should be a sense of nothing going on in the throat. Ming-ah exercises are ming, 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 N's, M's, V's sometimes help. Just rehearsing the entire piece on a V sound, and then singing on the umlaut sound, the U sound, gives you a nice balance of the warmth with the brightness. Remember that back singing is fun for the singer, but it's disastrous for the chorus. And in the long run, it's detrimental to your singer if they're singing too heavy and back. So think about balancing the space and the forward placement. As Vennard says, it should be the objective of every singer to get as much brilliance in their tone as possible, along with as much depth as possible at the same time. They are the two hemispheres of production which need to be maintained and balanced throughout the singing. Part 3 of this video will focus on the individual section characteristics.